I never planned on becoming the kind of guy who fights an entire neighborhood association, but sometimes war knocks on your door wearing pearls and sunglasses. My name's Jack Leland, 48, former firefighter turned handyman, divorced, no kids, and more stubborn than is good for me. After years of smoke-filled nights and busted knees, I wanted nothing but quiet. When my mother passed and left me a modest inheritance, I used it on something I thought would finally give me peace, a rundown property just outside Redding, California. 8 acres of scrubland with a murky pond, the realtor generously called a water feature. Most people saw a mosquito pit. I saw potential. The first time I stood by that pond, the smell nearly knocked me over, rotting algae and something dead floating just under the surface. But I knew how to work. I rented pumps, drained it down, scooped muck with a rented backhoe, and poured myself into the job. Every day before sunrise, I hauled, dug, and sweat. I tore out rusted fencing, rebuilt the banks with gravel, and installed a simple aeration system I designed from old firefighting equipment. By month 4, the water turned clear enough to see minnows darting. By month 6, kids from town were asking to fish. For the first time since my marriage imploded, I felt useful. I'd built something beautiful with my hands, and the sound of families laughing on weekends made me believe maybe I still had a place in the world. Then came the black SUV with the vanity plates. Out stepped Claire Beaumont, president of the Canyon Crest HOA, a woman whose perfume reached me before her words did. She was in her 60s, tan, with hair as stiff as insulation foam, holding a clipboard like it was a sword. She didn't even say hello. She pointed at the pond. "You're trespassing," she said. I laughed because I thought it was a joke. "Ma'am, this is my land. I've got the deed in the house." Her smile was sharp as glass. "That pond is part of Canyon Crest common amenities. You've been illegally altering HOA property for months. This will be reported." She left a citation on my deck, claiming I owed $2,500 in fines for unauthorized use of water resources. By the time her SUV rolled away, my stomach was in knots. Within a week, government inspectors descended on me like vultures. Fish and Wildlife, Water Quality Board, County Planning. Each one looked around puzzled, admitting off the record that my pond was cleaner than anything they'd seen around here in years. Still, they all said the same thing. Anonymous complaints required investigation. Anonymous my ass. I knew exactly who. For weeks, every sunrise brought another official with another clipboard. I was bleeding money on legal consultations and sleepless from stress. But when I dug into the county records, I found gold. The pond wasn't natural. It had been a gravel pit in the 70s. The HOA hadn't even existed until the 90s, when some developer carved streets and cul-de-sacs nearby. And when they built, they'd skipped the environmental studies required for runoff. Years of lawn chemicals and road salt had drained into my pond, killing the fish. I wasn't destroying it. I'd been fixing their mess. So I filed complaints of my own. Illegal stormwater drainage, contamination, unpermitted alterations. Within days, inspectors marched into Canyon Crest, crawling over their drains while neighbors peeked through blinds. The taste of payback was sweet. Claire didn't back down. Instead, she went digital. Overnight, Facebook lit up with a group called Protect Canyon Crest, complete with glossy graphics showing my pond as a supposed environmental disaster. Photos from before restoration labeled as current. Posts accusing me of endangering children. 3 residents who'd never even set foot on my property became her loudest voices, parroting lies at coffee shops and grocery stores. The smear campaign hit me where it hurt. My bank froze the construction loan I'd taken to finish landscaping. The rental company doubled deposits. Hardware stores suddenly required upfront cash. I felt the town turn cold. One night, sitting on my porch with a cheap beer, I considered selling. Maybe it wasn't worth fighting a machine fueled by money and malice. That's when headlights approached. I tensed, but it wasn't Claire. It was Miguel, a fishing guide who'd been bringing clients to the pond. He stepped out with a cooler of catfish and said, "Jack, my clients love this place. Don't quit. You've built something good." Others followed. A biology teacher named Grace brought her students for water tests. Families who'd been visiting every weekend started volunteering to help. planting trees, building picnic benches. The laughter of kids on the shoreline became my rallying cry. Then came the envelope, heavy paper, embossed letterhead. Whitaker, Dunn and Hale, Sacramento. Not local lawyers, sharks. The cease and desist letter demanded $75,000 in damages for unauthorized improvement of HOA amenities. The logic was twisted genius. They weren't saying I stole the pond. They claimed I'd improved HOA property without permission, making me liable. Like remodeling a stranger's house and then getting billed for the privilege. Every local attorney I called gave the same answer. Too risky. That firm owns half the county. I was drowning until Miguel introduced me to someone named Judge Roy Harlan, retired, but still sharp as a nail. White beard, plaid shirt, the kind of man who radiated quiet authority. He read the letter, chuckled, and poured us coffee. "They've overplayed their hand," he said. "They're bluffing with money. We'll beat them with evidence." In his kitchen, surrounded by law books that smelled of tobacco and thyme, we built a case. He showed me something beautiful buried in state law. HOA water rights require filings with both county and state. Canyon Crest had only done the county side. Legally, their claim was worthless. And here's the kicker. I'd been paying property taxes on that pond since day one. Paperwork doesn't lie. Digging deeper, we unearthed Canyon Crest's dirty laundry. They were hundreds of thousands behind on bonds for infrastructure they never built. Their bylaws required them to provide a community lake, but it had never materialized. My pond was their golden ticket. Let some fool restore it, then swoop in and claim it as their own. And the fool, unfortunately, was me. That discovery lit a fire in me. I wasn't prey anymore. I was holding their lifeline in my hands. But Claire wasn't finished. One by one, my pumps failed, wires cut, motors burned out. I installed cameras, and one night caught grainy footage of a figure in white creeping near the aerators. The sound of a familiar SUV idling nearby confirmed what I already knew. Claire herself was out here sabotaging me. The next day, I found one of her designer gloves snagged on the fence. As our legal case built momentum, Claire escalated. She hired a PR firm that specialized in smear jobs. Soon, Google searches for my name spat out headlines about illegal wetlands destruction. A slick video circulated, splicing old footage to make it look like I'd poisoned the water. Stock photo residents gave tearful testimonials about my supposed crimes. It was vicious, professional, and effective for a while. Then the backlash hit. Grace's students published real test results proving the water was cleaner than state standards. Miguel organized local businesses to testify how weekend tourism was booming thanks to my pond. Newspapers smelled blood and started digging into Canyon Crest's finances. What they found was corruption, mismanagement, and Claire funneling HOA funds into her personal crusade. The final showdown came at a Canyon Crest community meeting. Over 300 people crammed into a room meant for half that. Cameras rolled. Claire strutted in 15 minutes late, face powdered heavy to hide exhaustion, flanked by a fresh-faced lawyer who looked barely out of school. She launched into a speech about protecting community values, her voice cracking as sweat beaded on her brow. Then Judge Harlan took the mic, calm, steady, devastating. He laid out everything, documents proving my ownership, records of their missing state filings, financial spreadsheets showing misuse of funds, handwritten notes from Claire herself, marking my property as a target. The room gasped when he displayed a memo outlining the plan to acquire my pond without cost. Claire snapped, her mask shattered. She shouted into the mic, ranting about outsiders ruining tradition, dropping not-so-subtle digs at my last name, my background, my worth. The room turned against her in an instant. Even her lawyer shrank back. Then the sheriff's deputy stepped forward. "Mrs. Beaumont, you're being served. Criminal investigation for fraud, harassment, misuse of HOA funds. Civil suit from me for damages." Her hands shook as she grabbed the papers. The crowd erupted. Cheers, boos, applause. Claire stormed out, her SUV tearing away like a scalded cat. The aftermath was swift. The HOA board voted her out, reimbursed my legal costs, and formally apologized. Courts confirmed my ownership permanently, dismissed all claims with prejudice, and ordered damages paid to me. Claire lost her position, her reputation, even her home when bankruptcy swallowed her assets. Last I heard, she was renting a dingy condo across town, far from any boardroom. As for me, the pond became a centerpiece.
Families flocked every weekend. A local nonprofit helped me turn part of the land into an environmental education site. Grace's classes studied fish habitats there. Miguel guided tourists who came from as far as Oregon. Businesses thrived from the traffic. What began as my quiet escape grew into something bigger, a community hub, proof that one stubborn man could stand up to a machine. Sometimes at sunset, I sit on the dock with my feet in the water, listening to kids laugh and frogs sing. I think about Claire's SUV rolling up that first day, her smug voice declaring I was trespassing on my own land. I smile because in the end, she gave me more than headaches. She gave me a reason to fight, and winning that fight turned my little pond into something worth far more than money. Because peace isn't given, it's defended, and I'll never let anyone steal it from me again.